Ardo Cal with ESPN. Happy to be joined by the WWE champion, Drew McIntyre, also the star of Monday Night Raw, the longest running weekly episodic television program in history. Drew, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a heck of an intro right there. It's a mouthful. You got it perfect.
Thank goodness. I've been practicing for a few hours now. It's interesting, right? Like thinking back on the history of Raw, actually, I don't think we've ever had a star, right? Like we've had guest hosts, we've had general managers, Drew, but like this is an official thing. You are star of Monday Night Raw. Has this ever happened? Like what's it like being the star of a show that's been on the air since 93?
I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever put it to me like that. So this is the first time I've been called the star of Monday Night Raw. I like it. I like it. I remember the first episode of Raw. I think the main event was The Undertaker versus Damien Demento in 1993, I believe it was. Like I'm such a wrestling fan. I think these things just stick in my head forever. And the fact we're in 2020 and apparently I'm the star of Monday Night Raw is pretty freaking cool.
No, that's an official edict from WWE. That was definitely something
Oh,
that was
really?
said. Hey,
I'm gonna start
star of
calling
Monday.
myself that. What if I'm ringing it? The ringing it so like Mike Young can announce this, ladies and gentlemen, the star of Monday Night Raw, the Big
Here's
Mac,
hoping.
Drew McIntyre.
What are your you mentioned some old memories there. Do you have any, even as a fan growing up loving wrestling, watching Raw, do you have any memories, like favorite memories from Raw?
So many. Like I guess just the ones that will pop into my head. Like a lot of them are during the time of obviously Stone Cold and The Rock when they were on top, because everybody at my school suddenly loved wrestling and was talking about it all the time, which was so unusual. So I grew up watching wrestling. It was kind of that's the thing I did, watched wrestling, and suddenly everybody was watching it, and there was the beer bashes when Stone Cold Steve Austin just hosed, The Rock and the McMahons with all the beer, and Vince McMahon swimming in the beer, and some of the great matches throughout the years on Raw as well. Like, God, was there? Like, I don't. That's actually a SmackDown match I'm thinking of right now. I'm getting mixed up Raw and SmackDown off the top of my head during that period, but it was a really a lot of good memories during that period when everyone started watching when I was a kid. And recently now, everyone I spoke to at school has been messaging me like crazy because they're watching again right now, especially with everything going on in the world. Those that weren't necessarily fans, are looking for something to take their mind off of things. And they're sending me messages on Facebook telling me, Drew, I hadn't watched wrestling for a few years. And with everything going on and you being WWE champion, I've checked it out again and I really appreciate what y'all are doing right now.
Talk to me about being like when you become WWE champion, you become the face of the company, you become the leader, you are the one that is turned
The
to.
star?
The star, exactly. The star. Exactly. But this is unprecedented times, like you said. Like, what is it like? Take me into, as much as you can tell us, being the face of this company, such a globally recognized brand during a pandemic. Well, what is that like?
I mean, I take it as a huge responsibility. I said leading up to WrestleMania, I believe this since I returned to WWE. There's no situation that my journey of ups and downs and everything in between is not prepared before. I'm ready to put the company on my back and lead it forward into the future. Nobody could have predicted this situation, but I stand by my statement, what I said before. I go with the flow, I adjust. And just like WWE, I always trying to innovate and think outside the box. And right now, it's my job as brand ambassador is to put as many eyes on the WWE product as possible. Obviously, I can't physically go places to do this, but social media is so big right now, and WWE is a huge social media platform, over 1 billion followers around the world. And I'm constantly trying to do media as many days of the week as I possibly can. I'm harassing them to John Cena levels. Like I want to do absolutely everything every day just to even get one more person to check out the product. Myself and Tyson Fury, I've got a feud going on right now. I just read a comment from him and his wife. We're working out this morning. He called me out again this morning. Colby Covington has been calling me out from UFC as well, and I love it. Just the banter back and forth. They get it. They get how big WWE is. They get it helps their brand. And for me, it puts more eyes on the WWE product, and that's my job as WWE champion, is to be nonstop, 24/7.
How do you think Colby Covington would do in WWE?
I'm sure he do. Well, the problem is he challenged me, so and I like the fact that he's aimed high. I talked about this on a radio show last week. I guess he was on the show. He called me out. He said that I mean, WWE wouldn't sanction the match, but I would fight Drew McIntyre. And I think about it like this: one, okay, if we're not doing it WWE, in WWE, I beat Brock Lesnar in 5 minutes in the main event of WrestleMania. How would he do in an MMA fight with Brock Lesnar? Probably not very good. So if he wants this unsanctioned fight outside of WWE, I'm willing to fight him in a bar or something. There's a reason there's different weight classes. I'm about 100 pounds heavier than the guy. I'm about a foot taller than the guy. I'm willing to like have an actual fight with him if he wants an unsanctioned fight. I'll put more eyes on the product. Perfectly happy with me. I'll smash his head in. I'll shut him up. I'll break his jaw like Usman did. And then more people watch WWE. So Colby, I'll fight you, mate. No title shot though. That's reserved for the WWE superstars.
Fair enough. I feel like his personality and his character charisma would do very well in the WWE.
He did fantastic. Give him time. He'll do great. Just don't challenge me right away.
You mentioned getting a lot of messages from people who are checking out the product again. I'm actually curious. I watched your WWE Chronicle on the network in preparation for this interview, and there was one scene where you were showing all the text messages you got after winning the Royal Rumble. And I'm actually curious, what blows up your phone more? Is it winning the Royal Rumble or winning the WWE Championship at WrestleMania?
It was close, but WrestleMania, I think, edged it. I couldn't believe just how much, my phone like really blew up, and the positivity for both Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. People who I'm friends with that I've passed through my life and my career, we're just all genuinely happy. And the biggest shock of all to me, I think I mentioned it in one of the interviews on Raw, was the social media reaction. Social media can sometimes, only sometimes, be a little negative. But it was all positivity. And it was so overwhelming to see that positivity throughout my journey over the past 4 or 5 months that I've literally just been myself, silly, funny sometimes, not funny sometimes, sarcastic Drew. But when it comes to getting in the ring, kicks butt, the fans have really rallied behind and relate to my story. And they're still, being so positive right now. And I see that feedback in social media, and I just thank everybody because the fans are the reason I'm in the position I'm in right now.
Isn't it crazy that you began your career in WWE as the chosen one? It didn't work out then, but here you are, the chosen one all these years later. Like, isn't it kind of a nice bookend how your career has gone so far?
Yeah, I mean, people ask me all the time, would you change anything? And I wouldn't change a thing. I might not end up in the position I'm in now. I wouldn't be the man I am today or learned the lessons I've learned today. I might not have met my wife. And it's cool being chosen by the powers that be, whatever, when you're a kid, but to be chosen by the fans. And that's the reason, again, I'm in this position, is because the fans started rallying behind me, and that created some opportunities, and things fell the way they fell. But I feel more chosen by the fans now, and that's a much better feeling than being chosen by anybody in the office.
I know that nobody really is able to do much travel during this time right now, but what is something that when you became WWE champion, if we were in a normal time, you would have looked forward to doing? I mean, the first thing that pops into my mind is a big promotional tour of Scotland, for example, holding the championship, going city to city, going to your hometown. What are some things that you're really looking forward to, assuming you're champion at that time, to do once we're all back to normal in the world?
Yeah, I think you just nailed it on the head. I was about to say I wouldn't have done anything different because, I don't go out and party and go crazy anymore. I might have a good time sitting on the couch with the wife and cats watching TV. That's exactly what we did after WrestleMania. That was my celebration. I would have done the exact same thing. If I was at Raymond James Stadium down the street, I would have drove straight back and done the exact same thing as I did after WrestleMania. But you chose the work route, and that's exactly what I'm all about, is work, work, work. And it would have been a tour of the UK initially. It would have been on the road in America. So American fans and fans across the world, are just as important to me. But the fact that I was the first ever British champion, my plan is to get back the first chance I possibly can, get an open top bus, start at the top of Scotland, drive all the way through Scotland, all the way into England, all the way to the bottom of England. I might stop off at Tyson Fury's on the way. We'll have a little chat about that match in the future. But yeah, I do plan the biggest promotional tour of all time, and finally get the UK the big pay-per-view they've deserved since SummerSlam 92.
How much do you want a match with Tyson Fury? How much do you hope that happens in the near future for you?
I mean, I'm not thinking about it in the near future. I'm about fighting our superstars first and foremost. The way I see it is more like, if it's, again, he gets it, it's about his brand and my brand and WWE's brand. I'm more about putting it somewhere where it's going to make the biggest impact. And I feel personally that if we're going to get a big pay-per-view in the UK again, it needs that big marquee match. And I feel like a Battle of Britain with myself and Fury in the UK might be, something as a selling point for, our fans, but also fans outside. Again, just trying to think bigger picture outside the box as champion. That's probably where I'd like to do it. It's certainly not a short-term goal. Like, my short-term goal is to become, one of the greatest champions of all time, but defending against our top superstars.
Does your opinion change at all in terms of celebrities, athletes outside of the WWE superstars that come in and have interactions like this? Some superstars might say, they're taking someone else's spot. Others might say they're bringing attention to WWE. Now, you as a champion now, do you view that differently?
No, I see it the same as I've always seen it. I understand why. And like I talked about, I'm trying to get more eyes on the product, and that's what WWE also want to do as well. And if somebody comes in for the right reasons, like somebody like a Tyson Fury who respects the product, works hard, does what's asked of him, or like a best example, like Ronda came in, gave it absolute 100%, everything she's got, and really dedicated herself to her business and got really, really good at it in a really short space of time. Like, if they respect the product and work hard while they're here and bring more eyes to the product, then I'm all about that.
Have you gotten any words of encouragement or advice from former champions like a John Cena?
Yep. Have fun. There's a little more, but it came down to him saying, just have fun and enjoy it.
One thing that we've noticed in WWE, particularly at WrestleMania, was the cinematic match, right? The Boneyard match between The Undertaker and AJ Styles, the Firefly Funhouse match with Bray Wyatt and John Cena. I'm wondering, what would a Drew McIntyre involved cinematic match look like?
I've thought about this, perhaps talked about it a couple of times. I think mine wouldn't be as, dramatic and cinematic. I don't think that'd be very, very Drew McIntyre. So I think mine would be more along the lines of a couple of places. One, if we can somehow get a bar for an actual bar fight. Two, I don't know if you remember when Regal and Fit Finlay had a fight in WCW Nitro back in the day. And I remember they were surrounded by cars. And it was a cool visual. And like, I just see in my head, being outside at nighttime with a bunch of cars in a circle with the headlights on, perhaps some of our superstars spaced out behind the cars, like just you would see in a street fight. And in the middle of the cars, in the fight pit, I guess, maybe someone like myself and a fighter like a Bobby Lashley with our knuckles taped up, just having a fight in there is how I see a Drew McIntyre cinematic match. More cost effective.
Does that become a bucket list item once you see a match like that? Is that something you look at and you say, man, I really want to be a part of one of these one day?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I watched both of them. I don't know if I want to go through the Firefly Funhouse and turn into 3MB Drew, but maybe like the Boneyard match, I was watching that and thought, man, this is really cool. And, since I was 24, I've talked about myself and The Undertaker having a big match. It never materialized back then. We had a very short one, and coming back to the company, we had the opportunity after the Undertaker Goldberg match to have the tag match with myself and Shane McMahon against Roman and The Undertaker, which was a lot of fun. Taker and I got to interact. The people really responded to us going face to face. And when I saw that match, I thought, right, that's the one thing before he retires, I really have to have that match with The Undertaker that's been coming since I was 24 years old.
A couple more questions for you here. This one might be a little bit inside, but I know that wrestling fans are talking about this. You had a match with Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank, and afterwards there was a handshake in the middle of the ring. And fans are speculating whether or not that handshake had to do with congratulations on becoming a dad. Can you shed some light on that?
Nope.
Fair enough.
I'm a fighting champion. We had a heck of a match. I offered my hand, and he didn't have to shake my hand, but he shook my hand. And there could be other reasons involved, but I respect his in-ring ability. He's got a lot going on in his life, and he could have, if he didn't shake my hand, I probably would have had to have dropped him. So I'm glad, I'm glad that he shook my hand. But congratulations to those guys. That's awesome. I'm very happy for them. Unfortunately, Seth seems to have had a breakdown the next day. I don't know if it's because I beat him or that he found out he was a dad. So I guess we'll find out as Raw progresses each week where Seth's mind's at.
Fair enough. My last question for you is, we've noticed since the pandemic, a lot of athletes, even WWE superstars, have gravitated towards video games, whether it's streaming on Twitch or just picking up games that they used to play. I'm wondering what your history as a gamer is. Did you grow up playing video games? What video games you enjoy?
Yeah, I grew up obsessively playing video games. With my brother. When did I start? I think our first computer was a Spectrum. Like, I don't know if you remember, similar to the Commodore 64 with the video cassettes. We used to play that bad boy with Dizzy was the big game at the time, and the original Ghostbusters game. Terrible. And then we had a Nintendo, then a Nintendo 64, and then a Sega Mega Drive, then a Mega CD, and PlayStation eras when we really started becoming obsessed. Like once those Resident Evil games come out, that's my brother and I and two of our other friends. We'd just spend days at each other's houses after school. We'd be going back and forth, try to complete the games. And when we completed the games, we'd try and complete the games faster. So Resident Evil 1, 2, 3 were like some really cool years for me. And my brother has told me, recently they've been remaking the Resident Evil games. I haven't been, much of a gamer over the past few years, but I think it's time to get back in and start trying to complete the modern version of Resident Evil. Probably terrifying now with the graphics. I saw a video game recently with the graphics. I was like, ooh, looks like a movie. I'll probably be having nightmares after playing it now.
Drew McIntyre is the WWE champion and star of Monday Night Raw. Drew, thanks for joining us here at ESPN.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to show that title one more time. Take care. Thanks for having me, bud.
Thanks, Drew. Appreciate your time, man.
No, thank you, bud.
Good vibes, man. Take care.
Take care of yourself. Thank you.